Today I'm going to talk about things you can do to help prevent losing important gear when you're in the backcountry. The reason for this garb will be clear in just a minute. Today's topic is something that's been on my mind for many years. I don't think a lot of people put much thought into it, but it is something that I believe is very important if you're someone who travels in the backcountry. Paul Kirtley recently did a video about the importance of colored gear, usually orange when you're in the backcountry, so you don't lose your important kit, as he would call it. And that really resonated with me because of my background in forestry. All of our tools that we used were orange back in the day, or we made them orange. So I'm going to talk about that in a minute. I got a lot of respect for Paul. He's a bushcrafter instructor and survival instructor. I don't do a lot of bushcraft and survival, but this theme really hits home because I do travel in the backcountry. I don't want to lose my important stuff. So today I want to pick up on Paul's theme and I want to expand upon it. I want to talk about different things you can do to help prevent you from losing your gear in the backcountry. The first and probably most important thing you can do to help prevent losing gear in the backcountry is to develop good behaviors. Be methodical about how you use your stuff, be careful with it, and be consistent. A really good example of that is my fire starting equipment. I always carry a lighter and a fire steel with me when I'm out in the backcountry, and they're always in the leg pocket of my pants. I'm a lefty, I keep them in the left pocket, and they're always there. I know where they are when I need them. When I go to use them, I get my fire or my stove all set to go. I sit down or kneel down, I open up that pants pocket, there's a zipper on it, I pull up my stuff and I use it and I put it away right away, re-zipping that pocket, ensuring that I don't lose it. That's a good behavior that I've learned so that I don't lose this kind of stuff. Another example of good gear behavior that I try and employ all the time is when I get to a campsite or when I get to the end of a portage, I always put my gear and my group's gear down in one pile. That way it doesn't get scattered. Sometimes I travel with a new partner and they'll put stuff down all over the place, and that's just a recipe for disaster. You're going to lose something eventually. I don't know how many times I've found a fishing rod or an axe or something at the end of a portage that another party has left behind. And the same thing goes when you're leaving a campsite. Bring all your gear to one spot, pack it up in one location. That way you're not leaving something important like a GPS behind when you leave that campsite. But just developing good behaviors is not going to cut it all the time. When you get tired, when there's bad weather, when the situation is stressful in any way, those behaviors can break down and you can lose something that's very important. Let's talk about color and the color of your gear when you're camping. Many of us do, as Paul pointed out in his video, many of us who camp and travel in the backcountry, we gravitate towards tans and browns and other earth tones, sometimes even camouflage. Sometimes I think there's a lot of YouTubers out there who are just trying to be forest ninjas, and that was the reason for my garb at the beginning of the video. But color is really important. If your gear follows this trend, if all your gear is black and brown and tan and camouflage, you stand a really good chance of losing it. It's fall, it's hunting season right now, and I would not go very far from my own property in the forest if I was not wearing bright blaze orange, hunter orange, and I'd probably wear a hat to go with the vest. That makes me a lot safer, I'm easily spotted, and the same thing goes for your gear. The first thing you can do is to purchase brightly colored gear and use that. You often have choices. This is a black lighter, I could bring that, or I could bring a yellow, orange, or red lighter. Seems like a no-brainer to me. And I've got a couple of saws here. This one is a folding saw. The handle comes in green or this yellowish color. I chose the yellowish color. This one, another simple folding saw. It comes in a variety of colors. I chose orange. And generally I try and select bright colors for most of my gear, even cordage. If I'm using a nice bright yellow cordage, there's even some glow-in-the-dark stuff out there. But if I'm using something bright to secure my tarp, I'm less likely to bump into it or trip over it. One of the reasons this theme really hits home with me is because of my forestry background. I went to school for forestry, and when I was younger, I did a lot of field work in the forestry sector. And if you lose your stuff while you're doing field work in forestry, you're wasting time and wasting money. And so typically all our stuff, all of our gear was orange, like this measuring tape. If it wasn't orange, we made it orange. And that's the other thing you can do. You can take existing gear that isn't brightly colored and you can make it brightly colored. This right here is flagging tape, probably the most important forestry tool ever invented. It is a simple bit of plastic. Sometimes you can get biodegradable stuff, and what we would often do is rip off a piece and tie it to a tree or a branch to indicate the boundary of a cut block or the center line of a road or that kind of thing. Very, very useful. And because this was ubiquitous in our kit, we would, if we had other gear that wasn't brightly colored, we would tie flagging tape to it so we wouldn't lose it. Here's a couple examples. This is an increment borer. This is used to measure the age of a tree. You drill a hole into the tree and pull out a core sample. And it's blue, not the best color, so a bit of flagging tape is usually attached. Here's a clinometer. This is used to measure angles for the heights of trees or slopes, and easily lost, so attach a bit of flagging tape. My memories of working in forestry is that just about all of our gear had a little bit of flagging tape tied to it. You can find flagging tape in most hardware stores or stores that sell hunting gear. Flagging tape is great, but it might not be your thing. You might not like having that attached. Another thing you could use though is orange paracord. Paracord is comes in a variety of colors. This is bright orange, really great. So here's an example. Here's my fire starter that brand new. I haven't used it. It came with this olive drab cord. If I drop that on the ground, it's almost invisible. But I can put a bit of orange paracord on it, and it's going to be really hard to lose. This is one that I use frequently. It's got some orange cord on it. I probably should replace that orange cord with fresher stuff. It's gotten dirty and a little bit challenging to find. Here's another piece of gear that is pretty easy to lose. Axes tend not to be brightly colored, but you put a little bit of orange paracord on the handle and it makes it much more difficult to lose. If paracord doesn't work for the application or piece of gear that you have in mind, perhaps you can paint it. This is a pot handle that I bought many years ago. It came with a set and it was black. And I decided, you know what, this is going to be something that's really easy to put down. I'll use a pot, I'll put it down. It'll fall between some cracks in a rock or something in a dark place and I will not see it. So I painted it bright yellow, and I've had this for probably 20 years. And the third bit of advice I have for you is that if that piece of gear is very important to you, like a knife or a compass, make sure you secure it to the clothing that you're wearing somehow. A really good example of that is something I learned in Scouts, was with pocket knives. Always put a lanyard on your pocket knife, and I've got a carabiner here to attach it to my belt or my belt loop. The lanyard is about arm's length, and if I do that, I've got plenty of length to use the knife, but I'm certainly not going to lose it. If I drop it or put it down and I stand up and walk away, it's coming with me. As well, my Scoutmaster said, attach this to your belt, and if somebody wants to borrow your knife, say sure, and hand them the knife still attached, and let them use it, but they're going to be using it very close to you. That way they don't walk away with your knife. Really good advice. And that's a theme that that carried with me into my forestry career. When I was young, doing forestry field work, we all wore these. This is a cruising vest. This is actually my wife's. Mine wore out. I had several and they wore out. The cruise vest is orange, picking up on the previous theme, but it's also got tons of pockets and grommets on the pockets. So these grommets right here and pockets are for compasses and clinometers. So here's my clinometer, fits right in there. If I put the cord through the grommet and then loop the clinometer through there, then it's never going to be very far away. It's perfectly at arm's reach, and I'm not going to lose it. It's going to go in there, be safe, and the other pocket is for a compass. Now I recognize you're not going to be wearing a cruise vest when you go camping, but you can still pick up on this theme. So you probably don't need a clinometer when you go camping, but a compass is a really good idea. Most people bring them when they go camping. This is my good quality compass. It comes with a lanyard. And often you'll see people wearing a compass like this. Tell you what, that's not how foresters wear their compass. You rarely see that. It's a bit of a cultural thing, a bit of a behavioral thing. But it's kind of challenging to use the compass at this length. Guess what? The lanyard is about arm's length. It's designed to attach to the cruise vest to your chest and then be used. You're not going to be wearing a cruise vest, but you could be wearing a shirt with a pocket like this. Chances are that pocket will have a buttonhole. This one doesn't because it's kind of a fancy Velcro design, but I still have buttonholes in the middle here. I can still pass this lanyard through that buttonhole, pass my compass through the lanyard, and now this is the perfect length to be used. I can get a really good bearing with that, and I can put it in my pocket for safekeeping, and it's attached to my shirt. I'm not going to lose that compass. I do the same thing with other important and expensive gear that I have. Here's my GPS. It's on a brightly colored lanyard, and it's got a nice carabiner so I can attach it to my belt, throw this in my pocket, and I'm not going to lose it. I could put it here as well, I suppose. I would probably just get rid of the carabiner. So far we've talked about behavior, the color of your gear, and tying gear to your body or to your clothing. That's all great ways to not lose gear. The fourth suggestion I have is redundancy. Have extra gear so that if you do lose something or something breaks, that you have a backup. Now, this doesn't apply to all my expensive stuff like GPSs. No, I'm not going to bring 2 GPSs, but I do occasionally on a long trip bring a couple of saws. What if a blade gets bent somehow? I'm pretty careful with my saws, but you never know. And for really inexpensive items that are very important, like a lighter, lighters are extremely important. They're pretty cheap. And for matches, this is a match case that I have. I choose bright colors, but I also choose redundancy. I'll carry probably 2 lighters on my person with a fire starter in my pocket as well. And I'll also have at least 1 lighter, sometimes more, in every pack that I have. That way, if I'm on a canoe trip and I do lose some of my gear, if I don't recover all my bags, I will still be able to dig to the bottom of a bag, pull out a lighter, and start a fire, and start thinking about my options. So that's it, guys. Those are my suggestions on how not to lose gear in the backcountry. If you have other suggestions, please put them in the comments down below. I hope you liked this video. I hope you got something out of it. If you did, please hit like, share, and subscribe. As always, I'll see you in the next one.